Right, so it's been a while.
It's been a while. New location.
New location.
Harvey's kitchen.
Bit of a downgrade on the setup.
Yeah.
No, a downgrade but an upgrade. We have in fact now got 3 angles instead of the beautiful 2. So instead of just seeing both of us and me, you'll see both of us, me and Lewis.
Yes.
Beautiful. We are halfway through the 2025 British Touring Car Championship campaign.
That we are.
That we are.
And we thought today to do a bit of to run down all 28 drivers to have contested an event.
Yep.
And do a bit of a ranking, a bit of a tier list.
Obviously discarding the F tier because that's when it gets a little bit touchy.
Yeah. But
S to D.
S, A, B, C and D. Going through, and this is not just like who's out and out the best driver, it's all about circumstances as well.
Obviously, you know, kind of where they finished up, like how they've adapted to things throughout the race.
Yeah. And all in all, we're going to give our very worthless 2 cents. 2 cents on how we think everyone's done this year. Yeah,
because I mean, overall so far, I think we've had a pretty solid season.
We have had a good season. Coming off at Alton Park, which was a bit of a demolition derby.
Yeah, I mean, for an Alton Park race, that wasn't actually quite bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't too bad.
It's amazing Dan Lloyd got the last independent win.
Yeah, after the day he had, I was shocked he came away with anything.
Yeah, it was. And it's like every other independent either got disqualified or retired.
Yeah.
Which certainly helps.
It does help.
Due some luck eventually.
It was. Bless him, it's not the best of seasons so far.
No, but moving on to... Do you want to start with the top or the bottom? I think we start at the top.
I mean, I was going to throw a wild card and say we start in the middle, but we'll start at the top.
No, we'll start at the top. Me and Harvey have 4 drivers in the top rank who he thinks had an outstanding season. So.
Yeah.
The first 2 self-explanatory, they're both fighting for the title.
11 points between them currently.
Yeah.
That is
Sutton.
And Mr. Tom Ingram.
Mr. Tom Ingram.
Sutton obviously has had the outright most wins this season.
I believe so.
Yes, he has. He's had the outright most wins this season.
You can pull up on the stats.
Just pull up on the stats. Let's have a look. 1, 2,
3, 4.
Yeah, he's had like 4 or 5 wins this season.
Yeah.
Ingram's had 2 wins this season, but obviously he has been there.
Ingram was Mr. Consistent though. He took him till Thruxton to take his first win.
Yeah.
But still, he's overall been very, very good.
He has been very good overall. I think once again showing what Ingram can actually do.
Yeah. I think it's pretty self-explanatory with those 2 though. They're probably going to fight for the title all the way to the end of the
that'll
year.
go down to like a last racing, hopefully. Hopefully it does.
Hopefully. Yeah. We've also put Dan Rowbottom up there.
Yeah, Dan Rowbottom for me this season has been definitely the big shout of the season.
Even though he's 4th in the standings, it's almost like he's been best of the rest.
Oh, definitely. Obviously, I know he came into the season saying, you know, I want to compete for the title this year.
He came into the season following heart surgery as well, didn't he?
Yeah. He's come in with an outstanding kind of kick-off. Obviously, he's taken 2 wins now.
Yeah.
And
he's just been...
2 wins and some more podiums as well.
Yeah.
So he's been there.
I think it's already statistically his best season.
Yeah.
He only
had 2 race wins coming into the season.
Yeah.
And now he's taken 2 and podiums within like 3 races.
Yeah.
Which is mega.
Finally, in the S rank, we've put Mikey Doble. There's a bit of a toss-up there, because you could say it could go to Chris Smiley.
Yeah, of course, but...
I think Doble still... To say, like, Power Maxed might not have even been on the grid this season.
But they weren't going to be.
Yeah, they weren't going to be until a last-minute sponsor came through.
And obviously with that Astra being, what it is,
nearly
10 years old.
Yeah.
To say where it is still and the results he's just pulled his first race win.
Yeah, first race win.
Like, you know, the man's doing bits in the car, so I think you can't...
He's just been rapid.
Yeah, exactly. You can't not include him up there.
I think if he had the same equipment if he was in a manufacturer's team, I think he'd be up there with Sutton and Ingram.
Yeah, I reckon he could be.
S tier, pretty self-explanatory, but all of those have had really good seasons so far.
Yeah.
A tier, first name.
Sort of the best of the rest, sort of.
Yeah, leading the independents, Chris Smiley and restart.
Banging season. Just come off the back of a fresh podium in Alton Park.
Yeah.
He had a banging Alton Park weekend. Obviously, he had that front row start in race 1.
Yeah.
Converted it into a podium.
Until his electrics packed in.
Yeah.
But that's been a thing with Restart have out and out been I'd say the best independent team by far.
Yeah.
It's just been a bit of luck that hasn't always rolled in their favour. Well, as we'll get on to Dan Lloyd later on.
Yeah.
But Smiley's been incredibly quick. Front row, qualified on the front row. I think before the season's out, he will also have a second race victory.
You know what? I back it. I reckon he can. I do see the Restart boys picking up another race win in the season.
Also in the A tier, I'd say this is a bit, not controversial, a bit of an out there choice, considering he shouldn't have even have been here yet.
No.
He should have been only turning up at Croft, but he's Senna Proctor.
Yeah, and oh my word, man.
Yeah, parachuted in after the whole crease debacle.
That was a mess.
Yeah, a definite mess.
And I did held my hands up. I do apologise for doubting the man at the start of the season. I said, he wouldn't necessarily have the best of seasons. But he has come in, he's taken it well out of the park already. He's had quite a few solid race results already. If we just pull it up on the stand. Ooh, hello.
He's pulling it up the wrong way.
I'm pulling it up the wrong way. Like what? Already he's had what?
6 top 10 finishes.
He hasn't finished outside the top 10 yet.
Yeah, 2 top 5s. Both, he made the top 6 in his first event. I think that shows that wet Thruxton qualifying was really difficult. Showed who the best drivers on the grid were.
Definitely did.
Or who are the best ones. And Proctor just slid right in.
He did.
Slid right in. And
he's had what? He's had 2 top 5 finishes.
He backed it up as well, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough, they've both been race 3s, but
he's still
the fact he's been up there to actually get in the reverse grid draw, he's done better than...
Well, you say he's been in the points every race he's competed in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Proctor, despite only doing 2 rounds, he's already ahead of every Toyota. Well, every Toyota, all the Cupras.
Yeah.
And, pretty much every other... Well, he's 15th in the standings at the minute.
Yeah. Honestly, he's doing mega.
Here's my thing. Here's my little thing. As well as Smiley, I think Proctor will also win before the year's out.
It's fair. I bet it definitely could, especially if it's like a race 3 draw.
Yeah.
I reckon it could. Obviously, he had that race 3 front row start.
Yeah.
At Alton Park, got a bit unlucky, but that was a mega race in itself. To be fair.
Yeah. He had a bit of bodywork damage in Alton Park, but he's been. I wouldn't say not the surprise of the season, because he had shown that he's already a race winner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, to be fair, he has been my surprise of the season so far.
Yeah.
Because I expect him to come in and kind of be there and whereabouts Crease was.
Yeah.
Kind of being that rear
towards the
driver.
bottom end of the points.
Yeah. For like the rear driver of the Hyundais in a sense.
But now that Hyundai have. Well,
probably they're a solid.
They got Morgan, Chilton, and Proctor all.
Yeah,
probably the best overall lineup on the grid.
Yeah. In terms of
all of those are solid top 10 every race drivers.
I mean, we came into the season saying the WSR would have the best lineup.
Yeah, and speaking of WSR, it's been a difficult season for them.
It has. It's not been I think after Jake Hill's obviously championship win last season, we all expected WSR to kind of come out the blocks, guns blazing.
I think part of it is the hybrid coming out. I think the BMW likes a weightier car.
Yeah. I think that's what. Obviously, we've seen it like at Alton Park struggling with the back end a little bit.
But Brands Hatch
was their circuit. That went really well for them. Obviously, they took all 3 wins, and including this man, Charles Rainford.
Who I think at the moment is Rookie of the Year.
I was about to say that. Arguably Rookie of the Year. He even set himself a little touring car record, being the fastest driver to get the first win.
Yeah.
Only 4 races into his BTCC campaign.
I think he's established himself as well as that second driver.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I think a lot of people thought Moffat, DeLeon... He's in a difficult driver lineup as well.
He's a very difficult driver lineup.
Proved himself last year as a really talented young driver.
Yeah.
Moffat's been around the block for a long time now.
He has, to be fair. He's what, over 10 years now in the sport?
You know it better than me.
Pushing 10 years in the sport, yeah.
But he's come in and he's starting to establish himself. He's even pushing Hill at times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
To say that, admittedly, me and Harvey did not know much of him before he joined.
All I knew from him before I joined was that he was a runner-up in the Porsches.
Yeah.
And
he's been...
Now we're here claiming he's Rookie of the Year. Like, he's had a solid start. He's had a mega start.
So that's our rater. That's our S and A tier. B tier, these are drivers who have had still a good season. But
there's room for improvement.
Yeah. Firstly, Dan Camish.
Dan Camish, yeah. 3rd
place in the standings. He still had a good year.
The look of the Dans has hit him, I think.
Part of it is the look of the Dans.
I think, to fair, 8th he would have been, but obviously after that he had that error in Brands Hatch where he switched the car off himself.
Yeah.
I think that's knocked it down to a little bit of driver error.
And the beef with Tom Ingram after Thruxton.
Yeah, the beef with Ingram.
Yeah. I think it's such a shame. I think coming after... Whereas everyone was hoping he'd have maybe a repeat of 2019, where he once again 4th. 2019, he was a couple corners away from being champion, and it's starting to seem like that might have been his shot of one and done. He has won this year.
He has won, yeah.
Has he won once or twice?
I know he's had 2 poles.
One way to find out.
I know he's had 2 poles.
Yeah, took poles at the first 2 rounds of the season.
Back to the cheat sheet.
Back to the cheat. He's only won
one win.
At the first round at Snetterton.
He's had 1 win and
a couple podiums since then.
4, 5 podiums.
Yeah.
Which is not bad.
And he is there, but I think me and Harvey's expectation in particular were for Camish to be probably a lot closer to Sutton and Ingram than he is.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate. I think it's more the first 2 rounds. He did great to fight back. It's more the look of the Dans.
He did great to fight back.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, the look of the Dans kind of kicked in.
And that's what we're factoring in as well. If bad luck's a factor, we're factoring that in. Going back to the list elsewhere in the B tier, I may as well bunch these together. Really. Yeah. Adam Morgan and Tom Chilton. I mean, Chilton won at the opening round.
Yeah, Morgan's had a few podiums.
Yeah, there's nothing really else to say about them. They're both...
No, not really. Obviously, once again, in all races that they've actually finished, they've both scored points, apart from Chilton's had 2 where he had a bit of an unlucky spell.
Yeah.
But apart from that, they've both had really solid races.
Yeah, they're both solid, and especially Morgan moving over to Hyundai.
I think that was the right move for him. It has kind of revitalised his career a little bit.
I also see Morgan picking up a race win before the year's done.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he had that 2nd place finish at Alton Park.
Yeah.
So
behind Sutton, but I think he's working his way there.
He is. He's working his way back. So moving on.
Firstly, after a break for tiramisu and exactly the 2019 Race 1 touring car race at Silverstone, we have returned
to let my poorly timed camera battery.
At least we can charge it.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Moving back on, back into B tier, as we're continuing.
Ronan Pearson,
who is done for the year.
Again.
For I think it was family commitments or personal reasons.
Don't know.
It wasn't specified, besides, just withdrawing.
Yeah, it wasn't money or team or anything like that.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah, it was just something.
Could it be something to do with the fact that Toyota's gone? Not been great.
Possibly.
Don't know.
Possibly.
But until then, I think he'd been outperforming that Toyota.
Definitely has been, I think.
Up until Alton Park, before then, all of the 4 races he did, he was the best Toyota driver.
Yeah, he was. Obviously, he'd had majority of his races have finished in the points. He had a couple, 2 top 10 finishes.
Well, he was the only one who'd made the Fast 6 up until Thruxton.
He was.
He was just racing pretty well.
Yeah,
with the luck not showing it.
He'd had 1 retirement throughout the season. That was in his final race. Depends. Will they be back on the grid next season? We're actually not sure yet.
Yeah, will he even be back? I'm not certain if we're back. Someone who coming into this season out of the rookies, I think had no hype behind.
Yeah,
and it was James Dorling.
Yeah,
and the start of the season,
we didn't really know much about him.
Yeah, he had no Whereas Max Hall and Charles Rainford had a little bit of hype around them. I think Dorlin, coming from a GT background, didn't have much going for him. And I was going to say, up until Thruxton, he was performing averagely.
Yeah, it wasn't really outperforming that Toyota at all, and
then the rain came at Thruxton,
and he kind of shone a bit.
And then he hit the top six,
made the big six,
and proceeded to then follow it up by
getting 2 7ths in a row for back to back.
Well, then he proceeded to follow it by getting the top six again at Alton Park in much better conditions. So
hopefully he can have like a decent kind of finish off to the season.
Yeah, if he follows along this, he'll very quickly come back up. I think also limited by the Toyota's competitiveness.
Yeah.
But the second half of the first half of the season for him has been very good.
Yeah, definitely. It has been pretty good for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, besides retiring in race 3, he's 5 points finishes in a row. 4 of those well, not in a row, but 4 of them top 10s. I think second half of the season, I'm interested by him.
Yeah.
He's piqued my interest.
Yeah,
he's quiet.
He has definitely piqued my interest a little bit. He's been looking fairly strong to pair ending off his first half of the season.
And the final member of the B tier, poor old Dan Lloyd.
Yeah.
The unluckiest driver, I think, in motorsport.
I think he's purely in B tier because of his lack of luck.
Yeah. Otherwise, he'd probably be higher up because he's probably been a lot quicker than that.
It'd be the same as Camish. They'd at least, I reckon they can make A tier.
Yeah. They've just had no luck. There's a wheel that gets spun and it has Rowbottom, Camish and
Lloyd. And so far, it's been on Camish and Lloyd most of the season.
Rowbottom's, before the season, he must have done some blood magic ritual to make sure that all of Camish's and Lloyd's luck came his way. And
they got no luck at all.
Yeah, no luck for either of them.
He's fair. A lot of it has been either through a restart, like car issue, or
he's had his fair share. I think mostly is the fact everyone was bullying him.
Yeah, he's been putting it out a lot.
He's been putting it off the track constantly. Brands Hatch, Donington.
It's not been doing well for his damage costs.
It's not. Luckily, the accident he had at Alton Park was...
It looked like he barely came away with any car damage.
Yeah.
Obviously, the very used mattresses that are the Alton Park barriers. They must have done some good.
I think the bigger miracle is he got the independent win in race 3.
Yeah, it quite lets you through the fact of
everyone else. And Patterson getting disqualified. But I think if Lloyd can get some luck, he can pull another Snetterton.
Yeah.
And get at least an overall podium.
I reckon he can.
I think the luck's not going to be with him to get the win, but...
No. Well,
I'd like to see it because he's probably the nicest guy on the grid.
Yeah, when we interviewed him, I mean, both the Restart boys, when we interviewed them, were, mega.
Well, it's like when it's the DLR TV looking at that, and it's just sad some weekends when you know how it's gone, and it's like,
yeah.
Hope he'll do better.
At least you know at the end of the weekend you're going to have a DLR TV episode coming out.
Yeah.
So.
Now on to C tier. These are drivers who have maybe not performed to our expectations of them coming into this year. Firstly,
the reigning champion
Jake Hill. Partly because that BMW has not been great.
It's not been there.
But also,
he's had one race win this season, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, and like Alton Park, it could have been another one, but
he kind of
threw it away.
Final corner. Yeah, he's had literally 2 podiums this year, both come from Brands Hatch. One in his race win, and then the second in race 3. Yeah,
he's been consistently in the points, but also he's been muscled out on a few occasions, and
he has been.
That the title, well, it's pretty Sutton or Ingram now.
Yeah,
the title's not going back to Hill this year.
No, it's not. It's sad to see. I would have liked to have seen him pick up, and actually have that another title charge.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It hasn't. Everyone was thinking a 3-way title fight, and it just hasn't quite come together.
No.
Another one who you can say it's a bit disappointing about, even though he's had a good season, is Josh Cook.
Yeah, obviously he had a good Thruxton.
Yeah, Thruxton got the 2 well after his accident.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he came. Yeah. To fair, he hadn't really been anywhere really. He started off all right at the season. Yeah. Obviously, we thought he was looking quick at Donington.
I think Cook is suffering from our expectations of him being a lot higher.
Yeah. I think it's everybody's expectations, really.
He's had a decent season, though.
I reckon I do see him maybe picking up a win this season.
Yeah.
he is capable of picking up that win. It's just a case of if and
hopefully, when. Hopefully this One Motorsport Honda can be built into a...
Yeah, exactly. It has got the potential. Obviously, we know the Hondas can be quick.
Yeah.
It's just whether they obviously get set up right and everything to actually make sure he can actually deliver that car.
Yeah. On to Daryl DeLeon. Did pick up his first win.
He did.
At Brands Hatch. Besides that, he's been kind of...
He's been at the lower end of the top 10. Sometimes like lower end of the points.
And to say, he outperformed that Cupra massively.
He did. And I think everybody, from that point, he kind of set the bar very high. As soon as he got announced in WSR, it was like, right, he's gonna be he's gonna be up there. He's gonna be Hill's second driver.
Yeah.
But so far he's been the weaker side of Jake Hill's garage.
Yeah. Still getting the points, but not. Whereas all the Hyundais and the Ford drivers,
they've all got kind of a solid 4.
Yeah. Well, we were expecting coming into the season that the Hyundais and the Fords would have to be fighting the BMWs as well, but the BMW seem to be trailing
more so fighting themselves.
Yeah.
If you've seen, a lot of it has been
Rainford, Moffat and
DeLeon kind of having their own on-track battles.
Even Hill as well.
More so DeLeon and Moffat have been kind of having their battles. We'll get to Moffat later on, but...
As well, this man probably would have been in D tier if it wasn't for Alton Park. Gordon Shedden.
Yeah, you know what? I love Shedden, always have done. And when he got announced back into the sport once again, I was thinking, right, that's it. 4th title charge on the way. Shedden's back until Donington hit, and it's been like rough.
It's been very rough.
He was qualified bottom end of the grid, like nearly every single race. He's had. He's not had a great season.
Yeah, bottom end before.
He'd had like 3 top 10 finishes before Alton Park.
Well, you mean...
2 top 10 finishes before Alton Park.
Alton Park is where things finally came together. And even then he had no luck because he started last race 1.
He did. To fair, he started last and he ended with a win.
Yeah.
You can't really complain with that.
And he showed that the experience is still there. Brilliant defensive driver.
He gapped. He pulled out a decent gap, to be fair. And then obviously that closed in towards the end of the race.
Well, it was more defensive driving on display.
He's still showing he has kind of got what it, he has still kind of got it in him.
And hopefully towards the second half of the season, the Toyota will finally pick up.
Much like James Dorling, I kind of hope those two can have a great... Same with all the Toyota drivers, I hope they can all kind of push forwards.
Yeah. Moving on, also in C tier, I've said Dexter Patterson. Yeah. Patterson could be a little high. Patterson's also struggled with luck. Could have had the independent win, but got disqualified for ride height. His Donington opening round of the season, he was very quick.
Looking quite quick, obviously.
Was it even getting the top 10 at one point?
Yeah. Obviously, Donington, he'd drop back, but then you'd see him build back up again.
Yeah, well, he started behind, but then moved up to, I think, P11 in race 1.
Yeah.
Was up in that part, and for the first round, it seemed to be like, it all seemed to be kind of there for him. But he's also suffered from not much luck. Donington race 3 had a brake failure.
Yeah.
Brands Hatch
took out his teammate.
Well, his teammate took him out, according to the
took
stewards.
each other out.
And
Alton Park took his
disqualified
teammate
at Alton Park.
And disqualified.
Yeah. That he did. He also the Olympics not a fan of each
Brands
other.
Hatch got involved in a fight. He's had a few things going a long way.
There are magnets attached to both of those cars, and they probably should think about removing them for the second half of the year.
At least add like opposing magnets, so they at least repel off each other and not come together. Now moving on to...
But I think Patterson's been...
Patterson...
When he's on his day, he's been pretty good.
He has been pretty good. Now moving on to the back end of the Napa garage.
We still got C cars.
Yeah, we are on the C cars. Yeah. We are on the C cars. Moving on to the back end of the Napa garage.
Yeah.
And Sam Osborne.
Yeah. I think Osborne being rated purely in comparison to his teammates, who have all... Yeah. Well, all his teammates, 3 are in the top 4. And honestly, it probably wasn't expected for Osborne to be up there.
No, obviously he's had his ups and downs over his years.
Yeah.
He's not had the best sort of career stats.
It's been better this year compared to other years.
Yeah, I have seen like an upwards kind of...
trajectory.
That's the word. An upwards trajectory this season from him. Compared to other seasons.
Yeah.
Is there work to be done? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Obviously, his best season so far, P5, which was pretty impressive. to be fair, at Snetterton.
Yeah, and he's still being coached by Rory Butcher.
Yeah, I feel like he can work on that, especially with Rutchers, especially with Butcher's backing. But yeah, he's not bad. Hence why he is in C tier, because he's not been awful, but there's room for improvement.
Yeah, he's not been a standout.
No. Now moving on to a personal favourite of mine going into Alton Park.
It was Finn Leslie.
Finn Leslie. Obviously, this young man who is younger than us.
Well, he's definitely younger than me.
Yeah, he's definitely younger than you.
You need to get some specifics for you, but
I feel like he might be younger than me. Should I have a look? Let's have a quick Google. Is he younger than me? Because if he is younger than me, then the dream's
over.
The dream is over.
I was happy with Max Hall being slightly older than me, but it's all gone downhill from here. He's doing the maths, but yeah, Finn Leslie came in this weekend as a replacement for Pearson. Had the drive shaft issue in the first qualifying.
All I'm going to say is, let's put it this way. December 2024, he was 16.
It's not looking good for you.
Yeah, the racing dream's over, boys. Yeah. It's over. But no, Finn Leslie, obviously...
Drive shaft issue in the first race. He's there because at the end of the day he scored points. He survived a very tricky race where a lot of people didn't survive. No,
it did. Obviously, his outright pace... obviously hasn't been great.
But he's literally 17. He's literally the youngest driver on the grid.
His TCR,
yeah.
TCR career it kicked it off mega. Well, obviously he got podium and stuff, and he's on his debut there as well.
Yeah, he was in Ford Fiestas last year, I believe.
He was in Fiestas this year, last year, in that Hyundai in TCR. Now in a Toyota.
Yeah.
They're three big, massive steps, to be fair.
Yeah, and hopefully he will be back after the summer break.
Yeah, I hope that isn't the last we see of him, because I feel like he has a lot of percent.
But if not, he could be good to go back to TCR and keep building a
I think that's what a young driver like him needs. Obviously, it's a big step push to put him straight into that car.
But he's been impressive for the...
He has been impressive, obviously scoring points in his debut. But, I do hope we see more of Finn.
And now we're moving on to the bottom tier. These are drivers who have had, there's no other way to put it, disappointing seasons.
Yeah, we'll start from right to left on this one.
Start from right to left. Aaron Taylor-Smith.
Simply because he's not... We love Aaron, but he's not really been there this season.
Compared to where he was last season.
Yeah, last season he had quite a good season in that Astra.
Yeah. And where it is now, especially seeing James Doyle in Shedden, the performance is ramping up. ATS, he made it into the top 12.
Yeah.
Besides that, that's not...
It's not really where
it's not coming together just yet. And especially with the engine failure as well, it's been not the season you would have hoped.
There's room for him to improve. Yeah. I obviously do hope he does improve throughout the season, but I think a lot of it will actually come down to kind of car performance towards the end of it.
And hopefully he will be back there. Especially with all the Toyotas ramping up, but at the moment... Been a step back.
Yeah, it has been a step back.
We've got Ryan Bensley up next.
Not much to really say about him.
Yeah.
Substituted him for Crease. Didn't crash. Didn't score points. At least he kept it on the road.
And to be fair, pace-wise, he wasn't
He made a few overtakes. He wasn't actually that bad.
He wasn't horrifically off the pace.
No, he was kind of still in that lower pack.
Yeah.
So,
next up...
Nick Hamilton.
Nick Hamilton.
Not really much to say either.
Yeah.
Again.
Could have got points. If it wasn't for Stephen... It was so frustrating. Could have been in the points, and then Stephen Jelly collided with him.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really seeing much of Nick this season. Obviously, we saw him in pre-season testing. He was having a few issues there.
He's a lot of building back up, I think.
Yeah, but besides from then on, he hasn't crashed yet.
I will say he's actually... you can see progressively. Yeah. In a way, part of it is... you actually look at it. Coming out of some weekends, he's been the best. He's been the better finisher of the unlimited cars.
Yeah, he definitely has.
But there is still work to do for him. But I do think he will get points put at the end of the year because he's slowly been building up for it.
That's what I've noticed, a common theme with drivers this season. A lot of building up.
Yeah.
But obviously, I do see Nick potentially grabbing himself some points towards the end of this year.
I think one of the most anonymous driver this season, Stephen Jelly.
I'm not gonna lie. No offence to Stephen, but I did forget he was racing to Alton Park. It did kind of rock up race one. Yeah. Seeing the grid, I was like, oh.
It's frustrating. It's been... I just don't know how to describe his year because we just haven't seen anything of him.
Yeah, we haven't really seen...
He's currently 23rd in the standings.
He scored points four times. 7 points is on at the minute, and it
the
is
only
frustrating.
the only things I can remember, he had the crash at Snetterton, and he had the crash with Nick Hamilton. But he's just, compared to Josh Cook especially, he's just not been. Don't know if he's had engine troubles as well. On about that Alton Park, but he's been pretty anonymous. Which compared to some of his time at the BMW,
obviously picked up a few podium stuff at BMW as well. So it's kind of disappointing to see, but hopefully he'll pick his way up. Nick Halstead,
same boat as Nick Hamilton.
Yeah,
he's actually. I'd say House has improved this season.
Yeah, he's having one of his better seasons. Obviously, he hasn't crashed the car yet.
Yeah.
He's kept it mainly on track, apart from that last race 3.
He did get punted off though.
Yeah. Obviously, he had that weekend where he just didn't drive.
Yeah, Donington. Because of the rib injury.
Yeah. At Thruxton. Obviously, he didn't drive at Thruxton. Didn't start race 3 at
Alton Park.
I can't forget my words.
But
Didn't drive.
But the facts are he's currently last. But
yeah.
Even when he, I can't remember who spoke to him. It could have been Steve Ryder or Tim Harvey. Spoke to him on his return, and even he's just there. He wants to say that amateur drivers can still.
Yeah, he's there to have fun, basically.
Yeah. And you know what?
I rate him. Yeah. You can't knock it.
If I had that kind of money, I'd do the same thing.
Oh yeah, I think we'd have a LH Speed and Sport team by now. If we had the money.
Moving on to, I would say
the most disappointing driver of the season.
Yeah,
Aidan Moffat. Moffat, I kind of had some high expectations for Moffat coming into the season.
Yeah. Moving over to BMW, you were like, I think we said it in pre-season. That BMW lineup on paper looks so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked banging. You know, I expected Moffat to be the second driver, to be the forefront runner, picking up wins. Yeah. If the BMWs were good enough, pushing for that title.
I wouldn't have said Moffat is the only one not to have won.
Yeah, I would definitely have said that. I'd have said he was probably the first of, besides Hill, the first of the other 3 to win.
Yeah, and he hasn't really pushed up into the top 12, Fast 6.
No, not really. He hasn't really been about much.
Towards the bottom end of the points.
Yeah.
Still, I think he's still got half a season to turn it round.
Yeah.
He's just been, compared to where we thought he'd be, disappointing.
Yeah, it has been.
And on to the last 2. Firstly, Michael Crease. He wasn't bad when he drove. It's more the circumstances, bottom end of the points.
I say it wasn't bad.
Proctor was definitely better than him.
Oh, Proctor has been way better than him.
It's more
so
the
far.
circumstances of how he left.
Yeah, he kind of shot himself in the foot a bit. You know, he did a good deed, and from then on.
Could have been budget as well, though. We don't really know the specifics behind it.
Well, no, because we know that they're not allowed to run more than 3 drivers in the same car
to avoid team hard debacles.
Yeah, so obviously subbing him out and then subbing him back in and then subbing Proctor in later on in the season it wouldn't work.
Which a major. Yeah.
It was kind of a major flaw in his plan.
He's still, I believe, is he the backup driver for Accelerate still?
Yeah, he's still a backup driver for them, obviously, but for now
it's more the way he came out.
Yeah.
And finally, last driver on our list is Max Hall. And it's been a season so far for it. Started off positively, 2 points.
It started off really positively, and things were looking up for Max.
Well, it was Cooper as a whole. The unlimited cars, Donington, they were quite competitive.
Yeah. Max, we kind of expect going off the testing times. Yeah,
he looked good.
Testing, Max looked really strong. Obviously, putting in some of the quicker times in testing. And
there's no way to say it. He's been quick at times, but he's just racecraft has not been there.
Yeah, he's had some of the most retirements of anybody in the season so far.
I think off the top of my head, he had the collision he got penalised for at Brands Hatch.
Yep.
Snetterton, he had the accident with Shedden.
Yeah. We speared Shedden in race 2.
Yeah. Where else? Thruxton, he had the crash with Osborne.
Yeah. It didn't finish race 2 or race 3 at Brands Hatch.
Yeah.
Crash with Snetterton race 1.
He had another off in race 3 as well.
Yeah.
And
race 1 at Thruxton, he had retirement there, then didn't start the other 2.
And recently at Alton Park,
2 DNFs.
Yeah, another collision with Patterson, and then another collision with Moffat, which he's been penalised for again. It's a shame because I think he has potential. There is definitely potential there.
Yeah, I mean, once again, he is a young driver. He has got that room to kind of build and improve.
Just needs to calm down.
Yeah. big thing. It does need to calm down because it's it's a
Some
tough one.
people have been saying, there's a reputation forming.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a lot of time still to. He's still a much better driver than we would be.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. But
there's no he has had the most retirements this season, and to say he was topping the timesheets at testing. Hopefully the summer break's good. Time to.
Yeah, I think that's what he needs. He needs a little reset. A few other drivers need that reset over the summer.
Yeah.
Enough time for some teams to maybe switch around the pecking order a little bit.
Yeah. Going second half, we've got Ingram and Sutton fight until the very end.
Yeah, there's only 10 points between them at the minute.
10, 11, I believe.
Yeah, 11, 10 points between them at the minute.
Same difference.
Camish and Robot are obviously a little bit further back.
And Hill.
Yeah. But
it's mostly a 2-horse race now.
Yeah.
But that is it from the mid-season review.
Yeah. We're probably back in a couple of weeks with maybe another.
Yeah. Well, maybe a preview of Croft.
Yeah, preview of Croft. Maybe even a little F1 catch-up. We'll see.
We'll see, indeed.
But yeah,
that's it from us. If you want to follow us at LH_Topspin Sport on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
At Talk S&S on Twitter.
Yeah.
We could be more active on Twitter.
But the others are good.
Yeah.
But that's it from us.